Yes, we're live. Hey everybody, Danny here. Hope you're well. Okay, going to get straight into things today. So, Meta recently released their new recommendations for their ad platform on Facebook and Instagram, very much aimed at small businesses. And the goal of this is to simplify processes on one side while improving performance. And this new approach is called the Performance 5, and it's all about addressing kind of the challenges that have been presented since the iOS 14 changes came into effect when that operating system was launched by Apple mid-2021, but also looking ahead to the kind of future of the online world, because we are definitely moving into a more, user/customer privacy-centric world. Okay, so in this video, what I want to talk about is a little bit about kind of what iOS 14 was all about, where I see the online world heading in this kind of like new privacy era, and then just dive a little bit into the Performance 5 and each of the components that are there. So if you've got any questions or comments, drop them in. And I'm, if you're watching this live, I'd love to interact and vibe with you on this kind of stuff. And of course, wherever you're watching this, because it's being broadcast to a number of different channels, then please like it, subscribe to it, follow it, whatever. But it's great to see you here anyway. So let's talk about iOS 14. iOS 14 was released by Apple mid-2021. Okay, and what it did is, once people either bought a phone with that operating system on it or they upgraded their operating system on their existing phone, then every time they opened an app that hadn't been opened before, Apple would prompt the user and say, hey, do you want this app to track your activity when you leave the mobile device, right? So the first thing to point out about that is that wasn't just aimed at Facebook or Instagram. TikTok had it, Snapchat had it, YouTube, like any app that tracked people, this prompt would pop up, right? Because Apple, they want to make user privacy the cornerstone of their marketing message. Whether that's right or wrong is absolutely a debate for another day, because I do believe that there are huge marketing motivations behind this, huge business kind of considerations behind this. They want to be the people's champion. Anyway, I said it was an argument for another day, and I mean that. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. So users were able to say whether or not they wanted to be tracked, right? So here, by the way, iOS devices we're talking about. So this is iPhones and iPads primarily, right? Now, because most users are already conscious about data privacy, because there's been a lot in the media over the years. And remember, we're kind of about 18 months behind the recording of this video. This was mid-2021. So that, GDPR has been a thing for a while. There were EU legislations that came into effect. There was the Cambridge Analytica scandal several years ago. And, user privacy, data privacy is a very kind of common, has been a very common theme in mainstream media for a while, let alone kind of like online digital media. So unsurprisingly, lots of people chose to opt out of being tracked. They were thinking first about their own data privacy and, rightly or wrongly, decided that they didn't want to be tracked. Now, what kind of numbers are we talking about here? Well, I don't want to scare you if you're running ads, and you'll kind of see where this is going in a second. But in the US, they estimate that as many as 96% of people opted out of being tracked from at least one application on iOS 14. Okay, so for Facebook and Instagram, this obviously had a big effect on their ability for the Pixel to track user behavior when people left the Facebook platform. Okay, I think it's important to establish that anything that's happening on the app on the iOS 14 device, iPhone or iPad, if you're doing stuff in the app, that can be tracked because you're using an app, and the terms of service will state that if you want to use our app, then we reserve the right to kind of make note of what it is that you do on our app. But the control of people leaving the app, and an example of people leaving an app might be if I saw an ad on the Facebook app and it was for somebody's lead magnet, and then when I clicked on that ad, it took me to a website where I could opt in for that lead magnet. that's obviously leaving the app. Okay, I just want to kind of make that really clear. That's the distinction. When people visit that website, Facebook have the pixel installed usually, or the person that owns the website would have the Facebook pixel installed, and that's how you are able to anonymously track the data. So it wasn't recording and publishing that data anywhere. It was anonymously tracking user behavior. So clearly people opting out of being tracked made or presented a big issue for Meta, right? And they needed to address it. 81%, according to Statista, 81% of users access Facebook on a mobile device only, right? So they don't use a computer at all. I use my laptop quite a lot because that's the way I go, but I obviously use my mobile as well. So I use both, but 81% of people only use a mobile device. Now, of course, a chunk of those are going to be Android users, but the majority will be on iPhones or iOS devices, and that's a significant hit, right? Now, everyone expected the backside to fall out of the world of Facebook and Instagram ads as a result, but the truth is that hasn't really happened. We've seen in the agency that I run pretty consistent results, not without its challenges. We've had to change approach in a couple of instances and use slightly different strategies. But on the whole, we haven't seen it as a catastrophic failure at all. In fact, for some of our clients, when we've shifted strategies, they've actually got better results, better cost per lead, more conversions, that kind of thing. It very much depends. Caveat, okay? What's happened, though, is that Meta have invested thousands and thousands of developer hours from their huge team. They are one of the biggest organizations in the world, and they have huge teams of developers and strategy people who've been looking at new ways to approach advertising so that they can look after their clients, who are the advertisers on the platform, right? Now, as well as all of this happening, there is a wider shift that's happening out there in the digital world. When we think about online privacy, there's a definite shift towards more privacy for the user, more protection of users' data. Examples: Google are going to be deprecating third-party cookies. That's expected to happen. Meta said at their head office in London, 2024, early 2024 is when they think that we will be starting to embark into a cookieless future. So cookies are what websites use to track what you're doing on their website, and it's they can be used for a number of things. A lot of the time, it's to make sure that you see the right content and all those kinds of stuff. But it's not about a cookie training today. There are browsers such as Safari, and Safari use intelligent tracking prevention, and Firefox uses enhanced tracking protection. So just slight variations on the name. I think Firefox also have, just looking at my notes, total cookie protection as well. These are helping users to shield themselves from being tracked by online advertisers. Okay, so fantastic for consumers, right? Maybe, maybe not. The thing is that on Facebook, if you opt out of being tracked, you're still going to be shown ads. They're not going to be as relevant because Facebook will know less about you. That's one of the challenges. Story for another day, I think. Advertisers still need to advertise. Okay, and that's why Facebook have come up with the Performance 5. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is just kind of explain through what the Performance 5 consists of. And I'm going to actually show you that visually. So let me just flip over to my trusty iPad. Here you go. All right. So I will go through these in an order. The first, so this is the Conversions 5. This is what you can see. Okay, on here, and I might make it just slightly smaller. There we go, so it fits on the screen. So you've got the Conversions API, simplified ad sets, broad targeting, mobile-friendly video, and ad testing. Now, Facebook have previously had a 5. They had the Power 5, which came out a couple of years ago, and that looked at things. There were recommendations, I don't remember all of them, but like using campaign budget optimization, using dynamic creative. They had a way of approaching ads. They've now shifted that, so the messaging isn't around the Power 5 anymore. So if you are kind of you're familiar with these concepts, park the Power 5, because the Performance 5 is now in town, right? And this is what Facebook are talking about. So let's start with Conversions API up here. So as I mentioned, the Pixel now has a lot of limitations because of the privacy considerations that exist because of iOS 14 and with browsers and more. So implementing what we commonly call in Facebook ads or meta ad circles, CAPI, or the conversions API, so just abbreviating that because that's what everybody does, that can help to overcome the challenges of that the Pixel has right now, because it doesn't just rely on pixel data, which is browser-based, it relies on server-based data from the platforms that you might be using to host your website, to host your funnel pages. So you might be using things like WordPress or ClickFunnels or Kajabi. There are different approaches to implementing the conversions API, and it's not straightforward. It's not completely terribly complex. There are different scenarios based on different platforms. But conversions API is the first, right? That's this one here. So the second one, simplified ad sets. I would say this is effectively known as account consolidation. Okay, so running fewer ad sets in each campaign, and the recommendation from Meta when I was at their head office was a maximum of 5 ad sets per campaign. What this does is, an example here might be that people used to think, right, I want to target a number of different audiences, maybe a number of different interests, and see which one converts the best, because then I'm going to focus all my attention on that one that converts the best. So you might be a coach and you might serve entrepreneurs. So you might have one ad set set up targeting an entrepreneur audience. You might have another one targeting the Female Entrepreneurs Association, and separating those audiences out into separate ad sets so that you can then analyze each one and see, well, which one's giving me the best conversions. That often resulted in campaigns with like 10, 20, 30, 50 ad sets inside of them. And that's complex. It means that the algorithm has a lot more work to do. And what what Meta are saying, I'll get that right one day, what Meta are saying now is consolidate. You don't need to test all of those separately. Consolidate them down, have a maximum of 5 ad sets in any campaign. That will give the delivery system more to work with, more effectively, just through simplification. Okay, because you're combining things together. You're making audiences bigger, which I'm going to come on to next. What that means is that you should, and I'm not going to get too detailed and too technical here, but you should be able to exit what we call the learning phase more quickly, and then the algorithm can pick up and get on a roll more efficiently. That's the message from Meta. So the next one is broad targeting. So this kind of leans into simplified ad sets. Let me think about how I'm going to summarize this. There are a number of targeting options available inside of Ads Manager. Okay, you can do interest-based targeting. And what we're seeing is that interest-based targeting still seems to work pretty well. That, I believe, is because most of the interests, is that fair to say most? A lot of the interests will be determined, a lot of interests assigned to a user profile will be determined by how they behave on the Facebook platform. What kind of pages do they like? What kind of people do they follow? That kind of stuff. What kind of content do they engage with? So interest-based audiences work pretty well. Lookalikes, where you say to Facebook, I have an audience, here it is, find me more people like this. They seem to be doing not as well as they used to. Sometimes they still work, but sometimes they struggle a little. What Meta are proposing, there are other audiences as well, like custom audiences and that kind of thing. But here, what Meta are proposing, and we've tested this a lot inside of our agency, is that people approach their targeting more broadly. That can be as broad as not having any interests, not having any lookalikes, but purely targeting people based on demographics, location, gender, age range, as broad as that, and then just letting the algorithm do its best, do its work. The algorithm has been around for a number of years now. Okay, it's got a lot of intelligence behind it. It's very, 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 very sophisticated. What that does mean is that you need to lean a bit more into having really good copy and creative, so that if your ad is being shown to a broader audience, it speaks to the right people within that audience. Okay, but broad targeting is number 3. Number 4, so I'm going around this clockwise, is mobile-friendly video. So here I would probably, it would be remiss of me not to mention TikTok. TikTok, I'm sure you're familiar with, it has changed the way that people consume, or accelerated a shift towards the way that people now consume content online. and that is short form, mobile friendly video. People are using, this is my phone in another case, people are using these a lot. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, 81% of people access Facebook only ever on a mobile device, right? So short form vertical video is what Facebook are recommending is the way to go. Now that does present its challenges because their recommendation is 15 seconds is the ideal amount of time. I can't tell anybody what I do in 15 seconds and also persuade them why I'm the right person to do it for them, etc., etc., etc. It's going to take me a bit longer than that, but that's the recommendation. So mobile friendly video. And then the fifth recommendation from the Performance 5 is ad testing. So what Meta recommend is using their A/B split testing capability, which is available inside of Ads Manager, and incrementally testing variable by variable so that you can figure out what's working best for your audience and optimize your ads over time. Okay, now this does throw up a lot of questions. Like, what does it all mean? I've given you a very high-level summary today, but what's the best approach to take? How relevant is it? Should you do all of this, some of it, none of it? Well, I'm going to be hosting a masterclass inside of my Fearless Facebook Ads Fellowship membership on this very topic on the 16th of November at 11 a.m. And it's going to be exclusively for my members. And I'm going to dive deeper into each of these Performance 5 recommendations that you can see on there. Those that have spoken with Facebook in the past about how to run ad campaigns probably understand that the advice that's given doesn't always turn out to be the best advice. No two ad campaigns are the same. And I believe that some of this is great advice, but for some it's not going to work. For some it's not feasible, and you need to think about what the workarounds might be. Now, this doesn't, the Performance 5 doesn't massively change the game when it comes to Facebook ads. These are just the recommendations from the platform, and they've done lots and lots of tests, and they've got lots and lots of benchmarks and lots of data that says this is the way it should go. Thankfully, this is pretty much the way that we've been doing it since iOS 14 for our clients in the agency and the way that I teach my students. So it's not a huge shift, but there are going to be instances where this might not work. So the masterclass is going to dive a lot deeper into all of that. As well as that, so it's going to be available to members of the fellowship, okay? So if you want to come and join the fellowship, you'll get access to that masterclass and all the future masterclasses that I deliver and that my guest experts deliver. You'll get access to my Fearless Facebook Ads training program, which is going to teach you how to set up Facebook and Instagram ads that convert to grow your audience and sell your courses and programs. You'll get access to our VIP members community, where my agency support team are in there answering questions for people who are running ads to give them the support that they need. It is absolutely like having a very nice slice of my agency working for you, but without paying us the monthly retainer. It's not a done for you service. It's a reactive, here's a question, well, here's an answer, and that's kind of how it works. But I think it's fantastic because I've bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of of Facebook ads courses over the years. But when I first started out back in 2013, I'd kind of try stuff out, but I didn't really have anywhere to go when I had questions. I just had a course that I had access to. Those of you that know, when you set up ads, there are a lot of questions. If things aren't quite working, why? That's what that community is there for. There's discounts on services, including like one-on-one hourly coaching calls, group coaching, and more. And the Vault, where all of the training that we ever create is going to be stored and accessible for the lifetime of your membership. So, what was the other thing? I have a few spots left. The first 50 people are going to get 50% off of their membership fees for life. It's a fantastic little community that we're growing. I'm so excited about it. I've got a lot of stuff coming up in the pipeline that I'm planning and preparing for it. So if you want to check it out, go to dannyyoungonline.com/membership to find out the details. For those of you that are already in here, I love you. I value you. Thank you so much. Right, let me just come back and see if there are any questions. Hey, Jolie, nice to see you. Jolie is watching over on LinkedIn. Nice to see you. I'm not seeing any questions come through in StreamYard, but because this is going out to a number of places, I don't believe it is foolproof and fail-safe in terms of aggregating them all together. So I will come around and answer any that I see. But for now, if you want to check out the membership, dannyyoungonline.com/fellowship, and I hope to see you there. So for now, that's it. Let me just come back and say, have a fantastic rest of the day and rest of the week. I'll catch you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.